Good evening. You're locked in to another episode of the Red Sea podcast with your host, Tiago's father. The window for Liverpool has been something to be desired. Obviously, there's a bit of unrest with the Twitter fan base and the FSG out and the FSG in as well. But we're here today with a few special guests just to give us their take on Liverpool's window at the moment. There's still an hour left to go. There's a few rumours swirling around as potentially late deadline deals. But do we actually think that Liverpool Football Club are about to do business late on in the transfer window? But guess what? We're going to get into it. But without further ado, let's roll that intro.
Tell the world we are Liverpool, champions of England.
We've conquered all of Europe. We're never gonna stop. From Palestine to Turkey, we've won the fucking lot. But Paisley and the Shankly, the fields of our field gold. We are unsupported, and we come from Liverpool.
Yes, guys, I'm joined by two very, 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 very special guests. People I like to call friends, people I like to call friends in the podcast community. We have got, without further ado, Terry from the Football Terrace and Paul from Redmen TV. How are you guys doing? You all right?
Super.
Yeah, brilliant after hearing that intro song. It's just what a Man United fan wants to hear, mate. It's but quality though, good.
No, it's all right. Like I said, it's not as good as yours, mate, but it will do because I like that song. That's one of my favourites because it was ringing out when we obviously went on and done the Champions League. We've done the Premier League. It's a staple anthem for Liverpool fans, and many teams have tried to copy it, but it just don't hit the same as when it's a Liverpool song, does it? But never mind. We're not here to talk album drops and music drops at the moment, but we're here to talk everything that the Liverpool fans want to hear, and that's transfers. So, Terry, I'm going to come to you first. And guys, this is a real quick snippet from these guys here because we've got more guys joining the show a little bit later on. But Terry, I mean, Liverpool's window, we were discussing off air, and me and Paul and all the other kind of Liverpool contingent have tried to remain as calm as possible. But is the air of disappointment kind of creeping in now where we haven't brought someone in, or have we been incredibly cute in the market and tied down our assets to try and protect the long-term health for the club? What's your views?
I think new deals for some of your players are of course important because you don't want to be losing too many players for free. You want to be securing some of the top talent that's giving you the most success you've had in 3 decades, and I think that's very, very important for FSG and Klopp to have had done. Do I think to win the league, Liverpool needed to sign some players and bolster that squad? Yeah, I do. I think you've got enough to finish in the top 4, barring a catastrophic injury season or something along those lines again, which is very unlikely to happen 2 years running, granted. But to win the league with how Chelsea have improved, with the quality that Man City have, I don't put Man United in as favourites above those two at this moment, even with Cristiano Ronaldo. But winning the league without buying anybody is going to be difficult. The only way I see that happening is if all of your stars stay fit all season and can kind of cope with the intensity of the games. But I think most Liverpool fans I've had a conversation with are disappointed that nobody other than Konate has come in for Klopp and the boys this window. So yeah, I think 1 or 2 additional players would have been very much welcomed.
Yeah, I share some of that. I mean, Paul, what's your thoughts just on Liverpool's window at the moment? We got Konate done incredibly early, and it looked like great signs as what some people were referring to as a legacy transfer window and what could potentially happen for Liverpool Football Club this season.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? I understand. Because again, funny enough, I just finished the video on our channel. It's 12 years I've been on YouTube, so that's 12 years worth of summer transfer windows, and it's been like this every summer. Even in summers when Liverpool sign players, even in summers where Liverpool had won major honours at the start of it, there's a constant clamour for new players, and we're all part of that. Who doesn't want new players to come in? I think the thing that's been different this time around, I think there's a lot of those sort of lingering fears, I think, from last year, which has exacerbated a lot of this. Is like we went from feeling confident that Liverpool were basically going to do the same again and win the league, to that like heart-stopping moment where you're like, oh my God, what's this Conference League that everyone's talking about? And when does that play? And what teams are going to be in that? To finishing third quite comfortably in the end, with all that stuff. So there is all those lingering doubts of like, what happens if? What if Van Dijk gets another injury? What if Gomez gets another injury? What if we have a repeat of last season? Well, the simple matter is you could go and spend £200 million this summer, but if the same amount of injuries happen to Liverpool again, they'd still be goosed, because you can't cope with that no matter who you bring into your squad. The thing that's given me hope, and the way I've sort of been keeping myself level-headed on this, is A, staying off social media as much as possible, but B, is remembering that the last time we did no business in the transfer window was after we won the European Cup. And yeah, we didn't. We signed 2 players that summer, but we went and won the league off the back of that, you know. And since then, I'd look at what Liverpool have done. And Liverpool, since we won the European Cup, Liverpool brought in Adrian, Elliott, Thiago, Tsimikas, Jota, and Kanate. I might be missing one. I think that's it. And there's between 3 and 4 players who are all good enough to contribute to the first team, from a team that won the European Cup and then ultimately went on and won the league as well. You know, so I get it. I do. If we'd signed Mbappe, we'd all be laughing our heads off right now and thinking we were unstoppable. But it doesn't mean Liverpool aren't good enough to contend.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, interesting things though is, like I said earlier on, we seem to be tying down our assets. And one of the ones that came out today, just on the whole injury crisis, was Phillips' contract renewal. That one was like a bolt out of the blue. Mm-hmm. You know, 3-4 days ago or 2 months ago, he was on the market and we were talking about 10, 15 million, potentially 20 million. Brighton were interested, Burnley were interested. And somehow we've renewed his contract on the last day of the transfer window. I mean, Terry, I'll come to you on this one. Is this a bit of safeguarding from FSG to avoid what was the injury crisis we had last year, and thinking, well, if Van Dijk goes down, we've got Kanate. If Matip goes down, we've then got Phillips. Or if Gomez goes down, because Gomez doesn't seem like he's fully recovered yet. Or I have every belief that if he was fully recovered, he'd be Van Dijk's starting partner, without a doubt. He's gone with Matip because Gomez, I don't think, is quite there yet. So is this a ploy from FSG to say, look, we're going to protect that side of things? Or are we protecting his obviously value in terms of resale value later on down the line, potentially in January or in the next summer window?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. You know, clubs are always going to protect. You see it all the time now. Chelsea renewed Olivier Giroud's contract at the beginning of the summer and ended up selling him anyway. So I think it's a bit of both. But Phillips deserves it, really. You spent money in the January on Davis and Quebec, who came in, or you loaned them, you know, it still cost money. He was, once he got settled and Klopp actually started playing him and I think it was Reece Williams regularly, he looked really good. Like, he looked really comfortable. And yes, is he ever going to reach the level of Gomez or a Kanate or a Van Dijk? No, but he didn't look out of place. He didn't look out of place in the Premier League performing at that level. He's obviously, you know, very close to the football club. So, you know, why risk buying a £20 million replacement who may not be able to perform to the same level as him? You're better off keeping that investment at the club. He's probably happy to sit on the bench and sit in the squad for the majority of the weeks. He's not going to kick up a fuss. He's not going to become angry. His agent isn't going to start talking to the press about when am I going to get game time. I think it's a good bit of business to give someone like him a new deal, especially if they're not going to invest elsewhere. And as I say, I thought he was really good in the back end of that run, that last 10 games. I want to say you won 10 on the bounce. It might have been 8 on the bounce. He was integral to that. He put in some brilliant performances. I remember when he played Man United, we scored early, but after that, he was impeccable. So, yeah, I think he deserved it, really.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he does deserve the contract renewal, but I can't help thinking and sharing some of the sentiments in the comments that this might be a little bit of a distraction. Hit him with the contract renewals on the last day of the season. Let's try and deter away from what's really going on. And the big one that came out today, the huge one that we all knew was going to come, and there was total disruption on the Twitter timeline, thinking, oh my God, is he going to sign? Is he not going to sign? Jordan Henderson, pens up. You know, that's a huge deal for Liverpool Football Club. It's massive. And I don't want to sound very cliche, but almost like a new signing. as they would say. Paul, I mean, give me your thoughts on this one real quick.
Yeah, by the way, I completely agree with this. Like the timing of it, I don't agree with the timing of it. What I mean is, I agree with the theory on the timing of it. Is people, the people around Liverpool, and I think we think sometimes of Liverpool as like, you know, like it's John Henry and FSG just sat in a room, sat in the penthouse overlooking Fenway and rubbing their hands together while they tweet out Liverpool's contract renewals. You know, there's lots and lots of individuals who do the bits and pieces at Liverpool, but it wouldn't shock me if that thing of it just went, well, look, we can announce these at any point, but we're not signing anyone, so we could just round the edges off a lot of the fury on deadline day by just announcing these things there, so at least people have got something to watch Sky Sports News for. It does feel very cynical, to be perfectly honest, but for me, again, the Nat Phillips one makes sense, because I think, as much as I'd have been happy to let him go and have his day, you know, brilliant. You've a brilliant piece of service for us, mate. You bailed Liverpool out this year. Thanks so much. Go and choose your club, because you've gone from being a Bundesliga 2 player to effectively being touted for Premier League clubs. And that's brilliant. So, you know, if he wanted to move, great. But also, there was a lot of people at the start of the summer going, dear God, don't let him go, because yeah, you're signing another centre half in Canate, but what if you get in trouble again? Would you rather have him or Reece Williams as your backup? And they've both been very good, but the honest answer is you'd keep Nat Phillips. So keep Nat Phillips till January and see what happens there. And I think that's kind of what they've done. They've not had the suitable offer in, so they've thought, well, let's protect his value, and because they know they might not get 15 million for him, but they'll probably still get 10, because he's still now a proven Premier League centre-half, relatively speaking, whereas Reece obviously is a bit younger and has got a bit more room to grow. And on the Henderson stuff, yeah, you need that boxed. You know, you do, because he's your captain. And, you know, it was a very real possibility that he would have moved this summer. That was a very real thing. You know, he'd been shown probably slightly more disrespect than I think he expected in terms of the contract offer. So I'm glad they've managed to resolve that, because he's too important to Liverpool on and off the pitch to have that not be a thing anymore. And, you know, he is, and he's a brilliant footballer. You know, I know we seem to think players at 30 and that's it. I mean, thankfully, that's not the case. You know, it's not wrong with being in your 30s, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, he's in the prime of his career, and you want that. You want players in the prime of their career playing for Liverpool as much as possible, because there was a time not too long ago where players got their best minutes playing for other football clubs after leaving Liverpool.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I mean, Terry, it's an interesting one, because we talk about protecting values, but what was all this one about? Williams' contract, Reece Williams, that one again was a bolt out of the blue. And me personally, look, I never try and openly criticize Liverpool players apart from Naby Keita, but the Reece Williams one for me, he done incredible last year. I think he was taken out of the firing line part way through, because I thought the amount of minutes he was playing was getting to him. His performances were dropping. You could see that his levels were dropping, and Klopp done the right thing and took him out of the firing line. But again, we've given him a new contract and shipped him out to Swansea, arguably probably to get some game time, because, you know, we've got 5 fit centre-backs at the club, top quality centre-backs as well. Obviously, Nat Phillips being the 5th choice in that. Reece probably wasn't going to get any more game time, and it'd be very difficult to shove him back with the 23s and say, here you go, lad, you've been up with the main team now, you're off to the 23s. Or is that just protecting the value? Because as I see
it's the asset. I mean, again, I come across a lot of this in my previous life, really, when it comes to the finance side of football. You've given him a new deal, but he's gone out on loan. So the vast majority of the contract, if not all of it, is going to be picked up by Swansea. So it's not actually costing Liverpool any money to re-sign him, but you maintain the asset as somebody you can sell. If he does well, you know, you might be able to increase the fee. If you'd been offered the right amount of money for him this summer, when did his contract actually run out? I didn't know. Was it this year or was it next year?
No, I think he had 2 years left on the deal, didn't he, Paul?
Yeah, so they're just protecting it. Once you get into the last 2 years of a contract, regardless of how good you are, your valuation starts to drop. It makes perfect sense that more and more of this is now being done by clubs. You know, the more kind of financial moguls that are now working within those departments. You're seeing these smart business decisions being made by clubs. And I think it's right, because Chelsea, for instance, if you look at their loan model, you know, their academy system and their loan model, yes, they're producing very good players in the likes of Reece James and Mason Mount, but one of the main functions of that whole academy and loan system is to generate enough income so they weren't breaching FFP. Liverpool don't have that issue because you are a bigger football club with a much bigger global fan base, and your income is massive. Your natural income is massive, but at the same time, why not try and copy those models as best you can, protect those assets and everything else, and then move them on as and when you need to. And a lot of these new deals you've seen, I remember at Man United we did it with Ashley Young, and he went 6 months later. There was actually a slight pay decrease in that. Nate Williams ain't going to get a pay decrease, but he's probably on about the same amount of money. So the risk is very minimal to Liverpool Football Club, really. So yeah, smart business.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I know you gentlemen have got other places to be. You've got other streams that you're in as well. I mean, I'm going to hold on to Paul for an extra 5-10 minutes if I can. But at this point, we're going to say bye to Terry. So guys, thank you for jumping in the comments. Thank you for obviously supporting as well. But Terry's got to shoot off to another stream. He's a busy man on deadline day, as I'm sure you can imagine.
I appreciate it. Cheers. Nice coming on, mate. And Paul, nice to see you again, mate. And
you, mate.
Take care, all. See you all later on. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Terry, mate. We'll get you back soon. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Take care. So, Paul, I mean, it's interesting from a Liverpool perspective. I mean, as you can tell, the timeline, and like you said, staying off Twitter for as long as possible to try and keep a clear headspace, because the timeline's been absolutely mental from that perspective.
It gets honestly, I don't. It gets worse year on year. I don't think COVID and lockdowns helped it, and I don't think. I think there's an interesting point, because I was saying you reach a point in life where you get older, but you don't feel older. So things that happened 10 years ago don't seem like a very long time ago. All of a sudden, the difference between 38 and 28 isn't that much psychologically. But I realize there's a lot that's happened in that time, and there's a whole generation of people who've been trained that the way to communicate about your football club is in absolutes and extremes. I know that, so when things aren't good, everyone's a fraud, and it's a massive catastrophe at all times. And I think so what I mean is that Twitter's, you're kind of prone to hyperbole a bit more than you would do. Maybe it's because they doubled the character limit. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe that's where they went wrong. When it was 140 or whatever, it was a lot more succinct, so people couldn't get too much bile in there. But just on the Reece Williams point, the best example of this thing about renewing contracts and sending out on loans is Harry Wilson. So there's a lad, clearly a good footballer. Liverpool tried everything in their power to get him the experience, to see if he was capable of adding to the first team. And obviously, I think they realised probably a couple of years ago that he wasn't really going to be there. But what they've done is you sign the new contract and you protect the value. Harry Wilson, if you don't do that, he leaves on a free. Whereas we get £12 million for Harry Wilson, and everyone knew that he wasn't really going to be Liverpool level. Again, some might say a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but that's, to Terry's point, it's spot on. Is that if people don't want Liverpool to be the club that sells their biggest assets every year or every other year, like a Borussia Dortmund, or maybe a lesser extent like an Ajax or whatever, then you need to do smart business at the lower end of the market and do some accumulative business. So the Reece Williams stuff makes sense. He's a good player. I think he proved that. Will he be good enough to play for Liverpool in the long term? Maybe not. I certainly didn't think so when he first in his early games for Liverpool, but by the end, when you see that photo of him and Nat looking around the stands against Crystal Palace with their cuts above their eyes and the black eyes, and you just thought, oh God, I love them too. So who knows? I guess. Yeah,
they were total warriors throughout that whole entire period for the club. And again, look, I'm gonna let you go very, very, very shortly. I mean, I just want to get through a couple of comments as well. Shout out to Zane, Talk Sports. How you doing, Zane? You're right. Thank you for joining us. Disappointed in the transfer window. Contract extensions, timings were a disgrace. I mean, it's a tough one. Do you know what? I can see why Liverpool and FSG have done it. We need to protect our assets, because last thing we want is to get raided by the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain now, which have become a global powerhouse overnight in football. To turn around and turn down 220 million euros for Mbappe, that tells me they just don't give a shit. Let's be honest. They don't give two shits about who they keep, who they don't keep, because their model in terms of bringing in top quality talent on free transfers looks like it's been vindicated. Gini Wijnaldum.
But
What's
this is the
sign?
thing. Yeah, but they're playing a different sport at this point, aren't they? And that shouldn't be a stick with which to beat Liverpool, because you can't do that. No one can. And I know that sounds like, an absolute, and obviously because you've got Man City are doing it and Man United are having a good go of it, but also Barcelona tried that. And look at the state of Barcelona. I agree. I agree that the I get to Zane's point. The timings of it all is bad, but I also, again, I think it all comes down to expectations. I think there's been a mounting expectation this summer more than any, and I think people have been disappointed by the expectation. Whereas I think if Liverpool were in Manchester United, maybe where they're at, or maybe where Chelsea were a year ago or whatever, and they weren't making moves, you'd have a right to be a bit upset with what they do. Like Arsenal, for example. Arsenal have made big moves, and now it's been disappointing, and they're still crap. But like, if they'd not spent that money, imagine how bad the situation would be at Arsenal, because they're catching up. They're trying to gain ground. Liverpool don't perceive themselves as being in a position to gain ground. They see themselves as being at the top table. That might be delusion, but it's still based on recent years or whatever. So. I think there's a little bit of degree to which we've probably wound ourselves up a bit more than was necessary. And it goes back to the social media point, is that if you don't go on social media, I know social media is becoming an all-pervading thing, and Christ, I've built a living out of it, so I can't complain about it. It's a double-edged sword. But if you were to just walk around the streets and chat to the people you chat to, and you just have the casual conversations around it, it's nowhere near as on fire. Well, the city of Liverpool is not on fire as you might believe it would be if you went and tried to gauge the mood from social media. And I think that feeds itself. And I've had this today. I've been on social media and I feel horrendous, because it's like being close to an exposed nuclear reactor, because there's so much that you can't help but be poisoned by it and feel down. When you're surrounded by negativity, if it seeps into you and you end up feeling it for yourself. I don't think Liverpool are anywhere near as bad. I don't think the situation's quite as bad as it's being sort of made out, and hopefully it's borne out. And the thing is, everyone best hope it's borne out, because otherwise there's nothing we can do about it now. You know what I mean? It kind of is what it is.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've had some really, really interesting conversations when you've invited us on Redmen TV about the current state of Liverpool affairs and transfer window and so on and so forth. And I do think you're right. I mean, as someone who is social media, YouTube, obviously I'm not on you guys' level yet, but I will say having that opportunity to discuss with fans and get on a one-to-one level with fans, and everyone's like, why, Thiago's father, why are you so calm? James, why are you so calm? And I'm like, because I can't allow myself to be stressed by it, because all that happens is like, you're right, it starts to transmit that negativity. You see the FSG out crew on the timeline, like they wake up and there's no chill from 6 a.m. till 12. There is no chill with those guys. They're on it, and I just can't get drawn into that camp. I just can't.
The thing is about it again. There's always a camp. There's always a camp about something. It's FSG out at the moment. It always centers, a lot of it centers around transfers and transfer activities and all that. There's always knobheads in and around the Liverpool scene. I'm not saying everyone who wants FSG out of the club, by the way, is a knobhead. I'm not saying that at all, by the way. But I'm referring to the people who take to social media to make other people's lives miserable because they've got opinions 100%. That they don't agree with. That's which is uncalled for, regardless of whether that's. You see that in the Marvel and DC fandom as much as you see it in the Liverpool fandom. That's what fandom is online, unfortunately, these days. But that's the point, is that it's the names change. There's loads that I've seen over the years, and they stopped. I give it a good example. There was an issue we had around where we lived for a while around our estate, where there was some stones that we had on the front path, and these kids for about a 6-month period would come to them and take them, and they'd use them to smash windows in the neighborhood. And I was like, you can't go out and tackle them, because they're a bunch of like early teens kids, and there's a gang of them, and they've all got stones. And if you go out there, they're going to throw stones at you, you're going to get hurt. But what I said is, eventually they're going to get a little bit older, and they're going to meet some girls, and then they're going to be off drinking cider in the park with them girls, and they won't bother anymore. And 6 months later, lo and behold, they do. And that's kind of what happens. Every couple of years, there's a group of people who are a bit like that on the Liverpool social media scene, and then they just grow out of it, or they go into other things. And again, I'm not trying to suggest everyone's a child, because there'll be middle-aged people who are involved. But I think
like ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, people who take to social media to be knobs have their opinions largely invalidated. But because I see a lot of people, I've seen a lot of good people around the Liverpool scene, who, like yourselves, who are quite sort of new to it, and you should be getting well more than your fair share of it. It's a shame, really, because it used to be a really lovely, positive place to be. It was more positive when Liverpool was shit, which is mad, which is why I'm calmed by it, because Liverpool were rubbish, and yet Liverpool Twitter used to be a really nice, supportive place. And now it's horrendous, and Liverpool are the best team on the planet.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And Paul, look, thank you for joining us tonight on our Deadline Day show. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm waiting for my next invite to Redmen. I'm geared up and ready to go. So when you want to slide that invitation my way, just let me know.
No problem at all. Always good to have one of the hot up and coming talents involved, mate. It's not like us old, not like me and Chris, the old heads. Like,
listen, SS can't be here tonight, but I'm sure he'll be watching, and he'll be he's off caravanning somewhere actually with his family, bless him. And he tried to link into the Wi-Fi and was like, James, I feel like I've gone back to the medieval times. I was like, don't worry, mate. I've got this tonight. Leave it with me, pal. I've got this tonight.
Quality. Well, yeah. Look, good luck for the rest of it, and thanks to everyone in the comments as well. You're all lovely.
All right, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you for joining us.
Ta-ra, man.
Take care. So, guys, we've just had Terry from the Football Terrorist and Paul from Redmen TV sharing their views in regards to Liverpool's current transfer window. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link for you guys to get involved as well. If anybody in the comments wants to jump on and join me and share some of their views, FSG out, FSG in, poor transfer window or good transfer window, please do jump in the comments and share your views. And also, when I post the link as well, jump in the chat and share your views as well. So that link coming right up for you now. But without further ado, I'm going to welcome two other guys to the chat. Some really, really supportive guys. One of the guys from Scousers in London. Really, really pleasure to have you on with us as well. So introduce yourself to the viewers for me, please, my man.
What's up? Scouser in London, AA, representing the Scousers in London team. You can find us on Instagram, Scousers in London. You can find us on Twitter, Scousers in LDN, and our YouTube channel, again, Scousers in London. Thanks for having me on, bro.
Yeah, no problem, AA. And look, I've been watching what you guys have been doing, and honestly, you guys are like, do you know what it is? The graphics, the visuals. Like, if you guys haven't, honestly, make sure you go and add Scousers in London on all platforms, because these guys are up and coming. Their content is good, and you're going to be seeing a lot of these guys on the Red Sea Pod linking up with us guys as well. And I've got another good friend of mine jumping in the chat as well. Introduce yourselves to me, bro, because this guy is a social media hologram. Yeah, he's a hologram. Every time I try and touch base with him, he's like, nah, I'm not really in it too tough, bro. Like, I'm just dipping in and out and this and that.
Oh, man.
Come on, tell the viewers where to find you, because I know you're back with a bang this year, and I want to be getting you on a lot as well. So tell them where to find yourself.
Yeah, man. Thank you, bro, for inviting me on. I appreciate it. But yeah, man, obviously, Samuel, also known as 9 Squeeze on Twitter. Yeah, man, obviously, I've got a podcast myself called #The Pep Talk. I took a little hiatus for a while, for a few months, but we'll be back up and running in about 2 weeks. So yeah, man, just look out. If you want to follow me, I think they look and see my @ in the little thing there. And yeah, man, if you want to follow the Pep Talk, that's also in the bio of my own page. But yeah, man, thank you for inviting me on again. And yeah, man,
let's get it going. So boys, like, I mean, it's been an interesting transfer window. Look, I'm not going to sit here and, like, this is where we're going to really get the real meat into the show, because I want to open this up. Yeah, I want to open this up. Yeah, because I'm not being funny. Paul is a top Red. I love Paul. Got a lot of respect for him. A lot of respect for Redmen TV. Those guys are the pinnacle of the Liverpool game. We know it. Yeah, they've been doing this a long time. They are the pinnacle of the Liverpool game. But now's an opportunity to kind of open the chat up a little bit more to the viewers. And I know we've got a couple of people which are trying to get involved as well. So I'm going to add Jabba the Cut into the chat right now. So Jabba, how you doing, my man?
Yeah, good. How are you guys?
Yeah, good, man. Thank you for jumping in. And look, just go for it. Like, tell
Yeah.
us what your thoughts are in regards to the window, and obviously us guys here, obviously will
Yeah.
respond and we'll discuss it. It's an open forum. Nothing's off limits, man. So talk about
Yeah.
it.
Well, I'll be honest. I don't think this was a good window for us at all. And I jumped in a bit late in your conversation with Terry and got parts of your conversation with Paul. Obviously, massive respect for both of them. I've been on Terry's show a few times recently, and I've entered quite a bit on one of them, actually. It's been a poor window, in my opinion. And it's just not... I think we can be realistic if we enter a transfer window, and I'll give credit where credit's due. The contract renewal's great. I personally think it was an absolute disgrace and a PR disaster to announce the Henderson contract today, in the middle of the day as well, where everyone was thinking, okay, is the transfer going to come? And you see breaking, Henderson announces a new contract. So that was awful. I feel for Henderson as well, by the way. I think he is not at fault for this. Our club captain has to take is basically involuntarily taking the brunt of this on Twitter, etc. I think it's fair to ask the owners to spend a little bit of money. I know there's been Mbappe links, there's been links to Haaland, etc. No reasonable fan's going to ask for 90 million Mbappe signing and this and that and Camavinga and all that. But I think it's reasonable to ask the club to say, look, Firmino's already injured. We don't know if it's going to be a short-term injury. Fingers crossed it's only going to be for a few weeks, or if it's going to be a few months. And if you go back to last season, we had a similar situation. I can't remember which player it was. Transfer window closed, and a day later we had an announcement that I think it was Matip or Gomez that they were going to be out for the rest of the season, like that, the next day. And I thought that was absolutely a disgraceful decision to announce it on the same day. And I hope that doesn't happen this time. And we should have signed an attacker for 30, 40 million if there was the right player available. Midfielder, you could argue, okay, is it necessary? Is it not? Since we have Harvey Elliott now, I think it's a massive missed opportunity, especially this window. It's not much. I think it's being fair to be realistic. You can tell I'm venting a bit.
I mean, you make some great points in there as well, and I just want to go off on the Henderson contract renewal one as well. I mean, guys, like I'll go with you, Double A, to start with. I mean, do you feel like Henderson's like a lamb to slaughter? I mean, we've all seen the comments underneath the announcement. There's some pretty tough hitting, cutting comments in there, and I don't for one moment think that they're aimed at our club captain. We all love Jordan Henderson. We know what he brings to Liverpool Football Club on and off the field. But is it just an opportunist moment for the disgruntled fan base to actually go at FSG and say, look, we're not happy with what you're doing? And are we within our rights as the fan base to go at FSG and say, this window has been poor? I mean, there's 27 minutes left in the window. And as it stands, we're going to have more outgoings, than we are incomings. And guys, I'm going to be counting the window down all the way through. 27 minutes and 30 seconds is what we've got left of this window. I mean, Double A, take it away from me, man.
All right, bro. Before I start, first thing I'm going to say is like, I'm FSG in still, just because of what's happened in the past. And I think we've had some pretty awful owners up until this point. So I'm not going to negate everything good that they've done in the past. However, I've got to agree with Jabba the Cut in this, in what he's just said, in this transfer window. The whole thing with Henderson, it is poor timing. It's like, come on, you're not going to make a signing, so you're basically saying, yeah, we've renewed our club captain on the day to it's not appeasing no one. We've made one signing.
Yeah.
Like, you've addressed the problem that we had last season when we had all our main centre-backs out and we bought... I didn't think Kabak was too bad, but at the end of the day, with what we lost, he wasn't sufficient us. And then we bought Ben Davies from the Championship that we never even played.
Yeah, he didn't kick a ball.
And now you address that this summer when everyone's back. But then there's holes in the squad, as Jabba the Cut said, other positions that we just haven't addressed. And yeah, to be honest, it's like, all right, we'd all like an Mbappe, we all like a Haaland, we all like probably a Camavinga as well. But realistically, in our hearts, are we really going to get those guys? No, but show us something. Show us like a little bit in intent. Even like the players we're being linked with, like no offense, but like earlier on in like the transfer window, we were like linked with Bowen, and I'm like, can't we even be linked with someone a bit more interesting than that?
You
Like,
wanted a
come on,
sexy
like-
transfer, innit? You wanted a sexy
Yeah,
transfer.
Yeah, even like, I do want to. I'm not gonna lie, I do want a sexy transfer. But even if you can't get that, like at least we're being linked with like one of the highest prospects, like in football. That all right, maybe we're not sure about, but they could be something really promising. And maybe with like the way Klopp trains them and his track record with certain players, that he can turn his play into something really big. But we're not even being linked with those guys.
Yeah.
So I'm coming like, come on, man. Like, it's like there's nothing really to get excited for. It's either we're just being linked with someone that's unrealistic, that we know in our hearts ain't gonna happen, or we're just linked with players that aren't really. They're not going to improve our squads, and they're not even going to push the first. It's not even like they can get into like and you're saying, all right, they're a decent player that gets into the squad. They can't even push the first team 11.
Yeah.
So it's like, what have we been excited about?
So Squeeze, just before we let Jabba go, because I know there's some other guys that are trying to get into the chat as well. So Squeeze, I mean, just give your points on what Jabba said also, because I will say you make some great points there as well. And I agree with what Double A said as well. I'm not FSG in or FSG out. I am firmly on the fence. I'm the type of person that will judge you by what you've left behind. So FSG are going to leave a legacy, and we need to judge them by that legacy. At the moment, we look at what we've done up until now. New stand, we needed it. State-of-the-art training facilities, we needed it. Another new stand being built as well, we needed it. Commercial entities, commercial revenues, we needed that. So there is some good that's come out of FSG's tenureship and their custodianship at the club. But we have to remember, they are only custodians. They will not be here forever. And it's what comes after they leave. We look at owners leaving clubs and the situations which they've left some clubs in. It could be real bad. We could be Hicks and Gillette. We could still be in that. Yeah, we could still be in Hicks and Gillette. We all know how close we came to bankruptcy. And that seems weird to tie Liverpool Football Club to potential bankruptcy, but it was close. NatWest wanted their bread back. They wanted their money.
Felt decades away as well. It's not that long ago that happened.
That's what I'm saying. They wanted their money. I mean, Squeeze, like, talk to me
Yeah,
before we
man.
let Jabba go.
Yeah, man. So obviously, you said how you're not you're not too out, but you're not too in. Obviously, with me, I'm not gonna lie to you, I am FSG out. Reason being because I just feel like right now we have outgrown their model. I do feel as if their model was quite good, obviously leading up to winning the Premier League and the Champions League, and obviously the Super Cup and the World Club Cup in it. So they have been, let me say, they've been good owners in a sense where they got us a manager that's good enough to compete. They've invested money quite wisely. And yeah, obviously you said how they've, I think a new training ground, a new stand. So obviously they have done some good things in it. So it's not a thing where I'm going to say these lot are parasites, get them out. But obviously at the same time, it's like there are certain things that when you're at the top, you have to do. Like, for example, when you're at the top, you might have to spend a little bit more money. You might have to, just invest a bit more money, do you know what I'm saying? And obviously there is still the reluctancy from their side to do that. And also, I personally, I just believe that we had the money available, but I don't know, something went wrong, or maybe there's something going on in the club. I do not think like Klopp or even them would say we didn't have 40 million to buy a midfielder, or like we didn't have 20 million to buy someone, do you know what I'm saying? So obviously the thing where I feel as if we have outgrown their model. I do feel as if we don't need the Arabs or do you know what I'm saying? I just feel as if we need owners who are willing to be flexible when needs be, do you know what I'm saying? And obviously I don't think FSG are. I don't know obviously what their plans are in the future, but yeah, that's just me. On the transfer window, I just feel as if obviously we just need to accept 21 minutes left, and obviously we're not signing anyone, so that's it. But yeah, man, this season I personally, it's gonna have to be another Klopp absolute
masterclass.
you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
It shouldn't have to be though. That's the thing. It really doesn't need to be.
Yeah, that's the
Right,
thing.
cool.
Well, like personally, I would say we're about a 40 million Pedro Neto, Harvey Barnes, players of
Okay.
these mold that can just come in. Sadio Mane knows if I don't play well, I might hold bench for maybe 5 games. You know what I'm saying, like, we're just
You're
just
talking
one or
about
two
the
players
same.
away from just competing, coming in. Because
Yeah.
and obviously, like I know that Klopp, he doesn't really like working with a very big squad. So I'm not gonna come and say we need absolute depth in every single place in the team. And but obviously, yeah, we don't need much. Just a few signings away from, you know what I'm saying, building our proper dynasty. I feel as if we've kind of like missed that. I feel like with last season not getting that defender, it
Yeah.
kind of stopped us. But yeah, like yeah.
So I just want to go through. So firstly, I just want to thank Jabba for jumping in. It's been an
Cheers.
absolute pleasure having you here as well. Before you leave, make sure you like and subscribe. There's a lot more coming from the Red Sea podcast throughout the whole entire season. I can't leak
Absolutely.
too much who we've got coming on, but we got some big people coming up on the Red Sea podcast. So make sure you like and subscribe as well. So Jabba, we're just gonna allow you to exit.
Yeah, cheers for that. Just one more thing I wanted to say, just because I haven't said it. I said I'm not FSG out yet, but if the rumors are true that they're going to re-enter the Super League, then the banners are coming out. So
yeah, I hear you. And there was one up here as well in the comments as well that was talking about protests. Now, guys, like I don't necessarily condone protests from a club perspective because I think it just gives the wrong image. And protesting, let's be clear, it doesn't work. Protests do not work. These owners do not care about protest. Subsequently, because the only way to hit back against poor ownership and poor stewardship is in their pockets. A protest doesn't hurt their pockets. Yeah. If you hate FSG that bad, stop buying tickets to the game. Stop going in the club shop and spending money. Stop buying the latest ticket. Stop buying your children the latest kit. Yeah. That is how you fight back against poor ownership. And if that's the thought that you have, stop buying it. If you really hate, let's be clear. Let's be very clear. And this is a message for all you FSG outers because, like I said, I'm not out or in. Yeah, I hate to see it. Right, I see FSG out people going, yeah, I hate FSG. Get them out of my club. They're ruining my club. But bro, you're wearing the latest Liverpool shirt. You've got the full track.
Can I button quickly?
Yeah, but
I agree. I agree with the point that
you
you said. I agree with the point that you said. Obviously, a lot of people who are out, they're not really out. They're just saying it. It's just a feeling.
Yeah, it's a
not really
trend.
much about it. But I do feel as if protest can work. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think with the Hicks and Gillette thing, there was like a lot of protests, etc. And also, when you look at the United situation, we can also protest and maybe postpone a game. Obviously, I'm not condoning that. I'm not saying go and do that. But just, you know I'm saying, that's just an example. You know I'm saying.
Yeah, Squeeze, I hear you. But with the United thing, all that happened is them guys had the inside man. They ran on the pitch. Then the Glazers said, you know what? Let's keep these guys sweet. Sancho, boom. Yeah, let's keep them sweet. Right? Stadium still decaying, by the way. Training ground still decaying, by the way. Yeah, club still in billions of debt, by the way. But let's what else can we do? Let's go and get him Ronaldo. Boom. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's different ways. I'm just of the opinion that, and again, this isn't any kind of slur against FSG out people. I'm like, look, we all love our club in different ways. And we want the best for our club. But if you are truly FSG out, like I'm on the fence, just be on the fence, and it's okay to admit you're on the fence. Yeah,
absolutely.
The latest merch. I've got the latest top, the latest training shirt, the latest tracksuit, because that drip looks sick. Like I had to buy it because it looks fantastic. I had to go and buy it. But at the same time, I'm mindful that FSG are at a point and a transitional point where I do you know what? someone I really respect in the game, and I haven't been able to get into contact with this person. Two people I really respect from a Liverpool perspective, and I'm trying to reach out to them and trying to get contact to try and get them on the show. Drifty from Coppish, and Callum from Coppish as well. And I wanted to tweet this, but he was brave enough to tweet it. He tweeted it, yeah. And I think he's onto something here, because I was thinking this the other day. Are FSG getting to a point where they're readying the club for sale? Are they readying the club for sale? They're tying down long-term assets, yeah? Planning permission, and there's a spade in the ground for stadium expansion, yeah? The commercial deals with Nike, the commercial deal with Sonos now as well. Huge commercial deal with Sonos. Huge commercial deal with Expedia. We've just had the shirt sponsorship renewed as well with Chartered Standard. Are they plumping up? Are they fattening the goose? Yeah, there's a great comment in here from Jamwa. Has anybody been talking about what FSG are doing with the Red Sox? It's honestly worrying. The similarities between the trajectory and theirs. This is what I'm saying. Are they trying to now proposition themselves to say, right, here's our exit strategy? When they came into the club, they promised a number of things. New training ground, stadium expansion up to 60,000 when they came into the club. They're just about to achieve that. Have they potentially done everything that they can do? Jabba, we're just gonna say bye to you. Thank you for joining us, Jabba.
Cheers. I was going to say I wanted to head off, but you were talking.
Yeah, thank you for joining us,
guys.
man.
Have a good night, despite the poor transfer window. Up the Reds. Let's have a good season anyway, and support them all the way. See you guys.
Take care, pal.
Yeah, bless, bro. Bless it, man.
I'm just going to add someone else into the stream as well. We've got Chris M. Thank you for waiting patiently and welcome to the stream. Also, guys, in the comments, if anybody wants to get involved, we're heading into the last part of the show. You are more than welcome to jump into the stream. Don't worry, we don't bite. We want your views. But like I was saying, are we potentially fattening up the goose to cook it? Are FSG looking to exit the club at the moment? And this absolute bombshell that hit us early on today, Edward's set to leave the club. Does he know something that we don't know? And look, I tweeted out that Julian Ward is a big part of what Michael Edwards does at Liverpool Football Club. So the transition and wheels of transition are already set in motion for the next in line, a successor to that throne to come through. So I don't necessarily see a drop-off in our activity. Well, our activity's been pretty non-existent, but I don't see a drop-off in what we're doing from a transfer activity perspective, to be fair, with this guy coming in. He's developed relationships with some of the top clubs in Europe. He's a well-respected member of Michael Edwards' team. So, but is there something at play here? I mean, Chris, welcome to the stream. Give us your views. FSG in, FSG out. Just lay it all down on the table. It's a chance for you to vent. And guys, if you're in the comments, if you want to get involved, I'm posting the link again. Let's get as many of you as involved as possible. We're taking you right through until the end of the window.
Yeah, nah. I've been hearing what you guys were saying. Squeeze, yeah, I kind of resonate what he's saying. I feel like that we've outgrown them. I feel like our expectations as a club should be for challenging all the major trophies, including the FA Cup, including the League Cup. We should be going at all fronts. And I feel like FSG have neglected us one too many times. I feel like in this, not just this particular transfer window, but past transfer windows, I feel like they love playing Russian roulette or blackjack. I don't know. They love gambling on our chances of getting silverware or maybe top four. I don't know the expectations. And I feel like that's the problem with FSG. We don't really know what expectations they seek from us. We don't really know what expectations we should be going into a season with, because if we really were challenging for trophies, challenging for silverware, they want us to be successful, they would have done something in this transfer window, because we've needed a midfielder, because literally all of our midfielders are injury prone. We've needed an attacker for how many years? I feel like people are surprised of how we we couldn't break down Chelsea as if this is a big shock to any of us. We've seen that sort of game play out so many times that we just couldn't have the end product in the final third. We've needed that striker, and they just haven't produced it. Maybe because Klopp didn't want it, or maybe because they've just chosen to ignore it. I just feel like FSG have the power here to really like give us a reason to believe that these guys care about this club. And every single time I feel like they failed at that test. And I'm not asking them to give us Mbappe's or Haaland's, because I feel like top Reds love to spin that on Twitter, like people are looking for £100 million signings every window, and that's just not the case.
I'm one of them top Reds. I was fully on the Mbappe train. I can't lie to you. I was pushing it. I was pushing it like I was pushing my own brand. I was fully on the Mbappe train.
Listen, we all love Mbappe, but I feel like a lot of Liverpool fans that I've talked to, they really came with a level head this transfer window. They were looking for an attacker, they were looking for a midfielder, and they were looking for a defender. And I feel like that covered all tracks. It replaced Gini Wijnaldum, who's our most durable midfielder. It gives us an option in the attack when all else fails. And we got a defender just in case Matip and Gomez have their annual breakdowns. It just made sense. It made sense as a club for us to fill these holes in. And I feel like FSG hasn't done it. They haven't done it. They failed the test yet again. I mean, Konate, let's be real. That was a last summer signing. It wasn't this summer signing. It was something we were supposed to get before. I'm supposed to congratulate them for it. It's ridiculous, isn't it? And these contracts, they could have done it any time. They could have done it at any period. And notice Mohamed Salah hasn't gotten a contract yet. So to me, that's a sticky situation. He can still get sold.
The window's not over yet. The window's not over yet, Chris. There's still 9 minutes left.
Exactly.
What's the chances of it being announced at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, like a Cinderella?
If they do that, then that's
the final
even
straw.
Today, they announced Reece Williams, and Phillips and Henderson. Yeah. Doing those three on the deadline day, they are telling the fans,
no,
pardon my language, but fuck you. We're doing this the way we want to do it. I'm saying,
listen.
I'm saying. So it's like they're doing this, and they know full well what we're thinking. They know what we want.
Exactly.
And obviously, I don't know whether this has come from John Henry, but they know what we need, and they probably know that they need it as well. But maybe and that's why I'm thinking maybe there's a plan in place for maybe a big summer coach. I think I've seen a few articles by James Pearce saying there's a big summer gone. Sorry.
Squeeze. We had James Pearce on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I really pressed him about certain issues, and I got a lot of respect for James Pearce as a journalist. He's been at the pinnacle and the forefront of Liverpool news for the best part of a decade. Yeah, he's been there. And he's been the spokesperson and mouthpiece for the club with substantial news, and he somehow developed this reputation or being known as Bad News Pierce, because anytime something happens or anything gets linked, he rubbishes it. But let's be honest, one thing I've learned from and I'm privileged enough to have done shows with the Terrorist and with Terry over at the Terrorist, is that there's a hierarchy with journalists, and if you're a tier one, if you're a high ranking journalist in and around that club, the club will almost use you as a mouthpiece to put certain information out and to dampen down certain newses. So we look back at the Thiago signing. James Pearce emphatically denied the interest of Thiago for Liverpool Football Club. Yeah, emphatically denied it. And I respect him. And this isn't a slur on James Pearce. I respect him as a journalist. Like, I subscribe to The Athletic. The material that they write is sensational stuff. It's good. They're forming the new direction of journalism and that freedom of journalism currently in terms of what they put out there. But James, you did us dirty that year. You came out and you said that nothing was happening. All Liverpool fans were like, oh. And then boom, out of nowhere, Thiago was announced. Bang, Jota was announced as well. And I had those kind of hopes for this window. Where the tier one journalists, the high-ranking journalists, the well-respected journalists in and around Liverpool Football Club were dampening down the news getting us ready for something sensational. Chris, you make a good point, and so did Jabba before. We weren't, and same as you, Double. Do you know what, Squeeze, as you? We weren't coming into this window thinking, yeah, boom, Mbappe. We weren't thinking that. We were thinking, and my co-host SS is watching, and I know his face is gonna turn when I say this, but we were on Redmen TV when the Gerard Bowen link came out, and if you ever get a chance, go back and watch his reaction when we were linked to Gerard Bowen. It is priceless, and whilst it's not sexy, I can see the link. I can understand why we would be attracted to that type of signing.
I agree,
because he's going to run through brick walls. He's reliable. He's probably given some of the best output for West Ham this year. And hey, we bought Robbo, it worked. We bought Ginny, it worked. I kind of trust the model, and the main kind of feather in our cap is Jurgen Klopp. As long as we've got Klopp, we're always going to be okay. So do you feel that owners, and Double A, I'm going to come to you, do you feel that owners prey on that, knowing that we got Jurgen?
Yeah, I definitely think they do. Because if you see how our team's performed over the past couple of seasons, you can see the factor, and you can see the difference that he's made. The only thing I would say is that in response to like obviously what you were saying, and what Chris, you said, and Jabba said as well about FSG. Only thing I'll say is, don't forget the good things they done. When they needed to invest, they did invest, and they did change our team around with like signings like Van Dijk.
By investing, what do you mean by investing though? Do you mean by selling Coutinho to
this is
buy?
what I'm saying.
No. Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying though. Like the point, Coutinho. I feel the only reason Coutinho got sold is because Coutinho wanted to go. The whole thing with Van Dijk is that we all know that we wanted Van Dijk for like Klopp wanted Van Dijk, or if it's FSG, they wanted Van Dijk for time, to the point we even got fined for tapping the guy up.
Yeah,
and we had to hold that, sit back. And then we went back in for him again and finally got him. And I feel with FSG, it's more personally, I feel that they feel that we can compete to a high enough level with what we got. Now, I don't agree with that squad-wise, because I think we rely too much on probably about maybe max 14 players.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with what they're doing. I don't agree with what they're doing for the past couple of seasons. But when we're saying, all right, and I do agree with like the way they're running the club, and that I don't think is right at this moment in time. And if we're not careful, and if we do kind of like injury-wise have problems that we had last season, this whole thing with Africa Cup of Nations, that Salah's probably going to go, Mane's going to go, two really important players to our first 11, let alone our squads. We could struggle in that time. However, if FSG go, I can't necessarily see someone who's going to be great to come in and take us necessarily to the next level. So sometimes I think, you know what, I'm not saying that necessarily like they should stay and they should keep things how they're going, because I don't agree with that. And I do feel they need to pull their finger out more. However, sometimes it is better the devil that you know. And they're not too bad of a devil in my eyes compared to what we had.
Before I let Chris go, because you've got a couple of people waiting to get in the stream, I'm just going to give you the final word before you go, Chris, as well. And also, guys, just want to let you know, guys, in the comments as well, we're blasting our way to 300 subscribers. The target for us was 300 subscribers by the time we hit the international break. We are 4 away. So if you haven't given us a sub at this moment, please subscribe to the Red Sea podcast. We've got a lot of stuff coming up heading into the season. And like I said, if I let all slip now, it won't be a surprise. But we've got some really, really good guests, some really, really special guests lined up throughout the season. So if you're not subscribed to the Red Sea podcast at the moment, please make sure you do that before you leave. So Chris, just before you go, I just want you to close on your thoughts at the moment, and just rate the window out of 10 and be kind. Be kind.
I can't give it more than the 2, because let's say if we did get a defender last season and then we brought in Konate, I would be like, okay, fine. But they gambled with our season last season, and then they expected this signing to kind of, oh yeah, look, here's your defender that you've wanted. But no, we needed that a year ago. You basically wasted a year A year lifespan on this team that we've got right here and now, a Jurgen Klopp year, and you just wasted it. And that's not on for me. I feel like Jurgen Klopp, when he comes out of Liverpool, he should have 3 Premier Leagues and 2 Champions Leagues. He's that good of a manager, in my opinion. And I feel like these guys just need to wake up and back this guy, because if we don't back this guy, we're never going to back anyone. And I feel like with FSG and their model, Scousers in London, you kind of said the devil, in it. I was having a discussion with my friend about Mbappe, and he was like, "Look, I'm excited. Mbappe might come to Liverpool because it makes sense. We've been tapping him up since 2017." I was like, "No, but when has FSG ever done something like this before?" And until they do something like this, I'm not going to believe it. And it's just been proven they are so rigid in the way they do things, and I don't think they're ever going to change. And that's why I'm FSG out.
I hear you.
Enough.
Yeah,
Chris, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having
you here, my man.
Yeah.
See
you later, guys.
Take care. So I've just got a guy I want to add to the stream as well. He's been patiently waiting in the at the back, waiting for us to kind of let him in as well. Just want to also announce the window has now closed, and Liverpool have made 1 signing. It is Ibrahima Konate. We did get the business done early. And let's look at the Ibrahima Konate signing for a moment. It is a fantastic bit of business. £36 million for arguably one of the most promising centre-backs in European football. He has captained France at every single level, right the way up to under 23s, and has a promising career. So I would like to give FSG their flowers on that deal. That is a fantastic deal, considering we were linked with Ben White, 50 million. Arsenal have taken the bait and paid 50 million for Ben White. And in his first game, he was put on toast by everybody. So I think FSG, in terms of that, do deserve their flowers. But I'm going to quickly welcome Jamwar to the stream as well. Jamwar, you've been so patient. Thank you for waiting at the back. I've got one other person waiting as well to jump in the stream. We'll bring him in shortly as well. So Jamwar, just quickly before I give you the floor, are you FSG in or FSG out?
First of all, thanks for having me on. It's been good. I'm in Canada, so I don't have a lot of other Liverpool fans, so it's been good watching you guys do this. I'm on the fence like you. But the one thing I would say is that makes me a little bit worried about the next couple of years. Like I mentioned it in the chat, but FSG runs the Boston Red Sox. They have ownership of the Boston Red Sox, and they were basically the owners that were famed because the Red Sox, they were a massive team, probably one of the 2 biggest teams in the Major League Baseball, but they hadn't won in about 100 years. So they hadn't won their league title in about 100 years. And they ended up being the owners that got them out of that in 2004. But what they've done since then is they have cycles. So similar to our dominance in the last 2 or 3 years, the Red Sox would go on a 2 or 3 year run and they would end up winning a title. And then that run would also, they would leave the team on its own. And then gradually the team would sort of break down, fall down the ladder, and get worse. So for an example, they won last time in 2018. Since then, they haven't made the playoffs. So they invest in cycles. The only issue I see with this is that works if FFP works. They bought Liverpool Football Club in 2011. FFP was put in 2011. I think they bought it in 2011 with the sort of understanding that FFP would allow them to compete with these oil sheiks. But if Man City had spent $12 million this window, $12 more million, they will have outspent us in this window since 2016. I don't know if their model works here. I just don't, because I think they were banking on it and it worked, certainly with Klopp, but they only have Klopp till 2024. Michael Edwards is rumored to be leaving. I think they really need to their model relies on really sucking out like the most talent as you can out of a squad where you find these bargains. But if they don't find these bargains, they don't have the money to compete with these oil sheiks and just buy the best players in the league. So I do worry about our future. I do worry about the next 2 or 3 years. I do worry definitely about when Klopp leaves, because I just don't know if their model is sustainable for constant success. I think they can do windows, maybe once or twice every 10 years, but I don't know if they can just compete with the buying power if FFP isn't put into place. So that's my main concern.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this cycle in windows is something which Terry, again, the football terrorists, has spoken about. And before I get into this as well, just want to congratulate everybody from the Red Sea podcast on hitting 300 subscribers at the point of the international break. When we set out to do the channel, we wanted to be kind of the mouthpiece for the fans in the South that don't really get that voice. We know what it's like being fans down here in the South of Liverpool, and you always get, well, you haven't got an accent, so you can't support Liverpool. It's like, well, hold on a second. We love the club as much as you, and that's what we wanted to be. And also, this is why I like hooking up with guys like Scousers in London as well, because you're kind of like us. You're in the same boat as us, same as you, Squeeze. You're in the same boat as us. And Jamar, you in Canada, you're in another boat, but you're the same as us. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you guys supporting the channel. We wouldn't have got to 300 subscribers without you. We've got a long way to go. As I said, we've got a lot of stuff coming up as well. But I agree with what you said there. I think that Liverpool are set up to challenge in cycles. And you know what? As a Liverpool fan, I look at it from two tacks. I would love total dominance every season. And how I see total dominance is I want a cup and I want a sustained title challenge. Yeah. And potentially I want to start trying to win doubles. So if we do a league and FA Cup double, that's success for me. I'll take that. Because Manchester City have only put the League Cup out on rent for one season. And then they were like, do you know what? We'll have it back now. You've had it. You're scratching it. Give it back to us. Do you see what I'm saying? And they've never let it off. I've never let it off rent since then. Same with Arsenal. Arsenal put that FA Cup out on rent and they've just not been able to claim it back. But that was their trophy. And the fans were happy with that. They were happy with top four and they were happy with an FA Cup. Now, I'm not turning around and saying that I'm happy with top four and an FA Cup. I want to see us deep in the Champions League, quarters, semis. I want to see us taking the league down to the wire. The most entertaining season we have seen in Premier League football is the year when we finished second by 1 point. Yeah, we finished second by one and only lost one game to the eventual winners. But we go on and we win the Champions League. I don't care what anybody says. Winning the league was sensational. But that year was entertaining football. I was on my knees in my hallway crying when Brighton scored against Manchester City because I thought it was on. At that point, I thought it was on. Then I think back to the Vincent Kompany goal, top bins at Leicester. And I think that game lost us the league. If he doesn't bag that, it's league and Champions League in one season. Finished. I can die a very happy man. Do you see what I'm saying? So we've had their moments, and that's what I want to see from my football club. I don't buy into these purists online that say if we're not challenging and winning it year in, year out, that's not success. Football's moved on. We've got a dominant Chelsea. We've got a dominant Manchester City at the moment. United are making moves as well. And I've been very vocal for Manchester United to up their game because let's be honest, Liverpool, Manchester United are the box office of English football. We are the box office of English football. City can have as much money as they want. Don't care. Yeah. Chelsea can buy as much as they want. I don't care. Yeah. Liverpool, Manchester United are the box office of English football. If we're not successful, English football's not successful. We'll end up like La Liga in the mud. If we ain't successful, English football's not successful. And that is facts. Yeah. So there's a couple of comments in here I want to get to as well. We've got Jono in here, FSG out. I'm going to post a link again. I'll keep going. If you guys want to talk, I'll keep going. I ain't got nowhere to be tomorrow. So we can stay here all night. I want to hear your views. Get involved in the chat and let us know what you think about the current transfer window. Please rate the window. Quickly as well, I've been really impressed with Crystal Palace's business. Just off the Liverpool tack for a moment. Crystal Palace's business this season has been sensational. They've brought a lot of young players with a lot of high ceilings, and they've just got over the finish line that Celtic striker. That's a good bit of business for them as well. I don't see Patrick Vieira being the manager for too long as well, though. I think he gets chopped at Christmas. But never mind. Jamwa, have you got anything to say before you go? Because I'm just going to add Andy to the stream as well. He's been patiently waiting to have his views. But what's your thoughts?
Nah, congrats on 300, first of all. Just really, really enjoying the show. And I'm curious to hear what AA thinks, because he was talking a little bit about the upper, I don't know. You all been talking about that business side a little bit, but I'm curious to know, can can we consistently compete if there are teams like Man City and Chelsea spending 300 million every window? And I'm not talking again like you. I agree, winning every year isn't competition, but I'm saying, is there a risk that we go back to that 6 to 8 sort of deadlock that we were in for about 10 years? I'm worried. I want to hear some optimism, I guess, but maybe not. Cheers, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, peace, man. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks,
Just quickly, sorry, bro. Go on.
No, it's good. Go on,
all
Squeeze.
right. Yeah, go on. I'll answer. I was just going to respond to what he says, but go on.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
go on, AA, go on.
I was gonna say that obviously when I think you asked him on the rating. No, I think you asked the previous viewer about their rating on the window, and obviously, man, I feel like I'm quite harsh in it. I'll give it 0 personally. Do you know what I'm saying? I'll generally give it a 0. I just feel like we signed a defender that we shouldn't have signed last summer, and that's what we've done. Obviously, the contract stuff, that's great. That's great news, good news. Obviously, we're looking down our best talent, so I'm not going to come and say that means nothing. However, a big club like Liverpool shouldn't be using that as an excuse to not sign any other player. So, Konate, top player. I love him. Top player. Probably our next Van Dijk. But yeah, apart from that, I'll give it a 0. Reason being because he should have come in last summer. And yeah.
No, I appreciate that, Squeeze, as well. I'm just going to grab Andy into the chat as well, and then AA, we're going to give you the floor. So welcome, Andy C. Thank you for joining us, my man. So, Andy, let us know where you're from quickly as well, and then we can give AA the floor again.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me on. You've done me a massive favour. I was banned from Twitter tonight, I think, after this window. I'll just be ranting on Twitter all night tonight. So, cheers for having me on, man. I'm from London as well.
Nice.
Big Liverpool fan. I'm in my 40s. So, supported Liverpool all my life. Yeah. Was a season ticket holder as well for a long while. Nice. But then the kids were born. So it had to. It become a bit difficult.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. So cheers for having me on. I've sort of agreed with everyone on the show tonight. I've got to be honest with you, boys. I'll go back to something that you guys said earlier on in terms of FFP. I think that's been the biggest problem with FSG. I think John Henry was banking on FFP working. And it just hasn't worked. He hasn't got the memo. I wrote on the group on the chat. He didn't get the WhatsApp. It's done. FFP's done, lads. And it was a significant moment when Man City got their ban overturned and let back into Europe. I'll never forget Jurgen Klopp's interview, and you could almost see. You can almost sense that hurt the club, because I think if that ban had if it was allowed to carry on, I think Liverpool would have been in a much happier and better place, especially John Henry. But I think when Man City's ban was overturned, I think that was a significant moment for FSG. I remember Klopp's interview. I don't know if you guys remember it.
I do.
But you know,
it's a watershed moment in football.
Club.
Yeah. It's a watershed moment.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, I've been ranting a lot on Twitter for the last couple of days because I'm a little bit like Squeeze, to be honest. I'll give the window a rating of 1, and that's literally because Konate's coming. All these contract stuff, like today, I felt today's announcement was pathetic by the club. Jordan Henderson had done that interview 3 or 4 days ago. That's pretty clear because he's with England now. Yeah, so, you know, why announce that on transfer deadline day? You're actually trolling the fans. Yeah, do it tomorrow or the day after. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Why doing it today? You're pissing us off. Yeah, the fact of the matter is, none of us wanted a 200 million. Well, we would have loved the 200 million spend in the summer, but you know, we're realistic. We know what FSG is all about. We just wanted, you know, a midfielder maybe coming in. Although I'm delighted that Harvey Elliott may have taken that spot. I've been I've been talking about RBL for a few years, being from London as well, and being involved in the academy scene. I remember that boy from 9 years old playing in under 12 football. So I've always known that this kid is the real deal. If you want to talk about academy players coming through, the only one mentioned on his level was Jude Bellingham. So we've got the real deal there. So I'm happy he's maybe have taken that spot in midfield, but go and get a forward player, man. You know, go and shake up the squad a little bit. You know, Bobby Firmino might be injured. You know, today it was quite. You know, it's quite funny that they come out and said the injury might not be serious, but then tomorrow they'll hit us with he's out for 2 months because the deadline's finished. You know, go and buy a forward player. I believe that we had the money to do that. You know, I look at players like Camavinga that's gone to Real Madrid. You know, this is a signing I think we should have gone in for. You know, that young upcoming player. You know, to come into these sort of players. I think we had the resources to do it, and that's what's really disappointed me this year about FSG. And I personally think, go on, mate.
You made some good points there, like the Camavinga one and the Renato Sanchez we were linked with, Gravin Birch we've been linked with, Neuhaus we've been linked with as well. These top talented up and coming players, and those are the kind of signings that you've associated with FSG over the last decade, going out and buying that player which they know they can polish and make the next big thing. I was at the Emirates on Sadio Mane's debut for Liverpool Football Club.
I was there, man. Amazing.
Sensational. So, mate, I've got a program in my top drawer because I collect programs, mate. Sensational football.
Brilliant.
But that kind of really announced himself. And when we looked at it, going 36 million for Sadio Mane, what do you mean 36 million for Sadio Mane? And Man United were linked with him. We were linked with him. And I'm like, nah. He needs to go United because I can't have my club spending 36 million pound on Sadio Mane. I just can't do it. And now, what a signing that is. But I just feel like I agree with you partially there because I think in the last two seasons, we've been slow to react to these up and coming players. I think the scouting in and around our rival clubs has got better. They've looked at, for example, Leicester's model because Leicester have set a benchmark. They've set a precedence in world football, not only in British football, in world football. Prior to them was Southampton, again, sent a massive benchmark, but they weren't doing it on the same level as a Leicester. Now, a good pal of mine actually works for Leicester Football Club, and he says the scouting department is unreal. They put to scout a player is not just an overnight thing. It's years of work. They're tracking these players for years, before they get to the point where they're like, do you know what? He's for us. We'll go and pull that. We'll go and pull that trigger, and we'll spend 1.5 million, 2.5 million, 5 million, 500,000, whatever it may be, to go and get that player. And I refer to those as risk-free transfers. Now, Liverpool Football Club are now in a position personally where, unfortunately, we can't dine at that table anymore because other clubs are well aware of our financial position. It's almost like we crashed the party for 3 or 4 years because we've always had that kind of money, but clubs have gone, okay, well, we'll let you eat at the table for those 3 or 4 years, but we know how much bread you've got. So now you need to start paying a premium for our players. Yeah, they know what we're working with. And I don't think Super League has helped with that because a lot of clubs that were openly involved in Super League will know what finances we're working with because those kind of conversations would have taken place around the table. And clubs which haven't come out openly been involved in Super League would have had that information circulated as well. So I feel that Liverpool are slightly on the back foot in that respect, where we're going in for these players, and what would be 20 million to Leicester or to Aston Villa, for example, would be 30 million to us, or 40 million to us. So it makes it that bit harder. And again, I'm not making excuses for FSG because Jamie Doku being one of them, rumored transfer fee was 30 M's. That should be light work for us. 30 M's should be light work for us. You know, when we're stretching to 50, 60, 70, yeah, I get it. You got to put your thinking hat on and think, does it work? But at £30 million, that should be lightweight. I mean, how much did Camavinga go to Real for? 30 M's?
36, 30 something.
34, I think. 34.
That
Yeah.
should be
So
light
that
work
all-
for Liverpool Football Club. That should be light work. Yeah. So I see it. And we look at how the Jota deal was structured as well. 40 M's, I think it was 5 million up front, and the rest in installments over 4 years. That's sensational business. That's sensational business.
Yeah,
So-
and also just quickly,
Yeah.
I know obviously like I've probably been the biggest FSG basher like tonight. But obviously I do want to say obviously they do have a plan. Like obviously I've seen obviously with our youth signings, we brought like a couple good players. You know what I'm saying like we're trying to bring in like we have a model, and obviously there are a few good parts of the model. You know what I'm saying obviously I think we signed Bobby Clark from Newcastle. I think he's probably the biggest talent in his age group. So there are a few parts of the model that are working, and I would love it to stay on. You know what I'm saying, but obviously the bigger picture, as in at the top, where the first team, where we need to, you know what I'm saying, just put a few bricks down. That's what we like a bit. But yeah, just want to put that in. But yeah, so
on that point there, and I'll open this up to anybody who wants to take this. There's always been that next summer. Yeah. Are we looking at and again, go back, you can check it. My tweets don't lie. I said that we're looking at a transitional period for Liverpool Football Club. This is a transitional period. And I said this back at the beginning of the window. And I feel all of the moves that they've made in this current window allude to and indicate that this is a period of transition. Are we gearing up for Liverpool 2.0? Are we looking at Jurgen Klopp and saying, you've got 2 more years left, or it's 2024, isn't it? So you've got 2-3 years left at Liverpool Football Club. Are you the man for us to go again, to turn around and say, right, next summer we're going to invest in a Jude Bellingham, a name that's been linked repeatedly with Liverpool Football Club, Jude Bellingham. 70 M's probably gets you Jude Bellingham. 70, 80 M's gets you Jude Bellingham. Is that the signing we go and make? Then also Ryan Gravenberch, rumoured fee 30 million for Ryan Gravenberch, but can't be brought until next summer. Yeah. Jamie Doku unfortunately got injured. Otherwise, is that a player 30 M's that we could be looking at? Are we trying to gear up for that next part of the Liverpool cycle?
Can I just say? Can I just quickly say?
Yeah.
Can I just quickly say? I think a big thing. I think one of the biggest things that happened last year was Jurgen got us third with that team, and I just believe these owners think he's Houdini. I think they see that. Yeah. He is. Yeah, he is. He got us third with Nat Phillips and Reece Williams. No disrespect to them boys. I love them boys when they came in that last 10 games. But I personally think these guys are thinking, right, well, everyone's back now. Virgil's back. Joey Gomez is back. We've bought in Ibu. Fabinho's back in midfield. These guys get excited when they talk about Liverpool. And they're thinking, well, imagine we finished third with all these boys back. I think we can win the league again. And I genuinely believe that's what's happened here, if I'm being honest, which is why they haven't invested. And I worry about that because that team isn't from 2 years ago. I believe people like Sadio ain't the same player as they was. Don't get me wrong. I think Sadio's still going to bang in games. I think he's going to be brilliant in games, but I think he's gone past that level now of wow. Do you know what I mean? The only one I look at in that front three now is Mo, who I think is stone cold killer. In midfield, I worry about midfield. I know we've got good players, boys, in midfield. We've got Thiago's what a player! Thiago's father here, man. He's an unbelievable footballer. Hendo, unbelievable footballer. But Naby, who we've been waiting for Naby to come onto the scene now for 3 seasons. The
4
problem
years.
with these boys, they're all glass jars, man. They're all going to get
Availability.
injured. Yeah, they're all going to get
Yeah.
injured. So this is what worries me, that we haven't invested this year. But I genuinely believe, lads, it's because of what Klopp done last year with that team.
It's funny you
That's
say
that's
that.
my opinion.
It's funny you say that, and I agree. I agree, because I look at it from a what if perspective. So we were the best placed last season to win the league, without a doubt.
Yeah,
we were the
Yeah.
best placed because we were still top at Christmas. We were still top in January. Yeah, and that is with Van Dijk injured. We were still top.
Yeah.
So we were best placed, and I feel last year was a massive missed opportunity for us not to retain the title.
The
I
title.
don't think a centre back signing in January would have allowed us to retain. I really, really don't. Yeah, I can't. I think that would have. The reason being is, again, we all understand football. Liverpool is set up like a system team. Yeah, so you have certain cogs in that system that are vital to make it function. Jordan Henderson being one of them, Fabinho being another, Alisson being one, Robbo, Mane, they're vital cogs. And each of those little cogs allows another one to spin and function. If you take one person out of that system, it starts to go to shit. Let's be honest. Because we don't have like-for-like replacements in the squad. Yeah? That's the issue. The like-for-like replacements are not in the squad. So I don't feel our problem is with our starting 11, and I don't think our problem is with our squad depth in terms of numbers. Our problem is the lack of availability in those numbers. Naby Keita is injury prone. Has spent most of his 3 years with the club on the treatment table.
Yeah.
Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, I have to say, has been incredibly unlucky.
Yeah.
When he came into the club, we look at the games against City, we look at the games against Roma. He was keeping Ginny out of the team. Let's not forget. He was benching Ginny because he was outstanding. He was scoring goals. He was the dynamism, as Klopp likes to refer to. It was all there. He had everything. And we thought, fucking hell, we've got a player on our hands. Unfortunately, he gets injured against Roma. He's never looked the same since. But might I add, he's actually been fit since Christmas. Only picked up little niggles, but he's been relatively fit since Christmas. Klopp hasn't used him. Naby Keita, another one that got fit, but we saw him hooked against Real Madrid at half time. Rarely been seen since. Yeah. We then look at Shaqiri. Shaqiri is a massive conundrum for me. Was coming in, contributing. We look at the assist against West Ham, phenomenal assist. The 2 goals against Manchester United as well, phenomenal goals that he scored also in his time at the club. But then when he goes away with the Swiss, he looks like Messi with calves. Like, what? It just make sense. Why can you not replicate that same form for club? And again, some people say, oh, it's a system, but I'm not being funny. He should still be able to produce those kind of performances on a consistent basis. You're a professional for club. I just think that we lack when it comes down to the grit in the core of the squad. We lack grit.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it's difficult to go out onto the market and buy that because that costs you 50, 60, 70 M's. And those players coming in, unless you're paying them like we saw with Saul Niguez, and I will sit here and I'll openly say, I had so many tweets, so many WhatsApp messages from various different people. And again, guys, if you're still watching, I'm not a transfer guru. I don't claim to be one. But what I will say, if someone puts something in my email inbox or in my DMs or text me something that claims to be in the know, I will share it with you because we're all Liverpool fans, yeah? But I was 90% confident that Saul Niguez would be a Liverpool player. 90% confident.
Same.
But wages was a stumbling block. He wanted £230,000. That would make him a top earner at the football club. We're not going to give Saul Niguez £230,000 a week. It's just not going to happen. So we look at FSG, they like performance-related contracts, don't they? And I feel like the modern-day players going, what do you mean performance-related contracts? Like, have you seen the numbers I've been producing? You can't tell me any performance-related contracts. I'm going to bang numbers, so just give me my worth. And that's why I feel we saw Gini Wijnaldum leave. we weren't prepared to pay the worth. We dangled a performance-related contract in front of him and said, look, if you do this, and this, you'll unlock this amount of money. And he's like, well, hold on a second. Barcelona was saying that I just have to turn up to training and I'm going to get that bread. So, I mean, what's your thoughts?
But boy, you know what? If you look at it like that, though, look at the trouble Barcelona are in. They're paying like mad wages. Like Barcelona, have you seen the wages they pay to people?
Yeah, I would just like to say Barcelona have been linked with Luke. Is it Luke de Jong?
Yeah, Luke de Jong.
Luke de Jong, who failed to score a Premier League goal in his whole time at Newcastle. They've also got Brathwaite up front as well.
They pay him 100 grand a week.
Yeah, it is reported that the deal to bring their little tiny dancer back to the club is done. Griezmann rejoins Atletico Madrid on an initial loan, and then the deal will be made permanent the following season, I believe, for Griezmann. But Griezmann goes to Atletico. Why are we not trying to do a throwback and get Suarez?
That's what I said.
Everybody else is doing throwbacks. Why can't we do a throwback? Why can't we go?
Bro, I think at even like 10 p.m. I was like, I think I tweeted
I saw it.
On a season-long loan. Do you know what I'm saying? He can play on the left. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, why not? Do you know what I'm saying? And obviously, man, like, it's been a poor window, man, but it is what it is. Literally.
It is. Guys, we're going to start to bring the show to a close. It really, really has. Andy, I'm sure you got a little bit more to say before you go, so we'll give you the floor quickly before we start to bring the show to a close.
No. Thanks again for having me on. I just want to say the only two positive spins. Number one is Everton signed Salomon Rondon, which made me smile.
Yeah. You know what, right? Solomon Rondon. I met him, on just on a random one. I was on my way back from my honeymoon, and I was in the airport in Miami, and Venezuela had just played Colombia the night before, and they were traveling back through, and the whole Venezuelan national team was walking through. I didn't really clock them because they're all nobodies, really. So they were all walking through. No disrespect, innit? They were all walking through, and this guy like sat down next to me, and I looked over, and I'm like, "That's Solomon Rondon." I was talking to him. His English is good. He was so nice, and I said to him, he said, "Oh, who do you support?" Because he was playing for Newcastle at the time, and I was like, "Oh, I'm a Liverpool fan," and do you know what his words were? He said Sadio Mane. He is the most difficult opponent I have ever played against. He is sensational footballer. Sensational. So yeah, man.
Yeah. Brilliant. No. So I just wanted to say the only positive spin I could put on with Liverpool is that when Klopp gets all the team back, when they're all back from their internationals, I think fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I think you just sit them all down and just give them that underdog mentality again. Listen, we didn't sign anyone. Everyone thinks we're done. Yeah, let's go out and show this is the only thing I can say positive. And I believe that Jurgen can do that with this bunch of players. And let's just hope that the boys stay fit. Let's not hope we don't have a freak season like last year where everyone was just dropping dead. It was around this time as well, the first international break, that everything went to shit. So, let's pray, like Squeezy said, that everyone comes back fit. Jurgen gives them that pep talk, and we can go on and challenge on all fronts this season, lads. Thanks for having me on, though. You've done me a massive favour.
Listen, and make sure you're subscribing. And if you ever want to get back involved again as well, just follow me on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter as well.
Definitely.
And we can interact, and we'll get you back on as well. But guys, listen, thank you for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you guys on the show. So I'm going to let you go one by one before I close. But yeah, thank you for coming in. It's been an absolute pleasure for having you guys as well. Squeeze, let the guys know where they can find you before you go as well. I know, as I said, you've been a hologram on the Twitter and the social media. But honestly, my mission this season is to bring you out more because you've been a hologram. So I need to get you more involved. But where can they find you before you go?
Yeah, man. Obviously, you can find me on Twitter at 9squeeze. Yeah, man, that's just where you can probably find me. Obviously, I'm relaunching hashtag the pep talk in about 2 weeks, so look up for that. Yeah, man. And yeah, man. Just thank you for inviting me on. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, man.
Moment to rant, innit?
Pardon?
You needed that moment to rant.
I did, man. I can't lie. I did, man. I've been on a few spaces in it, but you know what I'm saying, this has been a bit of therapy. So yeah, man. Thank you so much for inviting me on, and I'm truly honored. But yeah, man. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. We'll catch up soon, man. Bless for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Take care, Squeeze. Take care.
Take care.
Hey, my man. So tell the guys where they can find you as well. What the Scouts in London have got coming up as well over the course of the week. You got anything going over the international break at all?
No, to be honest, international we kind of closed down a bit. We're more on the league stuff, to be honest. Don't get me wrong. Like, I like international football when it comes to the major championships, especially the World Cup. But the way they do it with the qualifiers now, with like the way they've broken Europe down, basically with all these small teams and whatever else, it's just not really interesting for me to watch like England like smash Moldova, then Malta. No disrespect to them teams, but it's like you get Harry Kane breaking all these records and stuff, and I'm like, but you're scoring 5 goals against like milkmen and postmen and all that. It just doesn't do nothing for me. So until really the World Cup comes, I'm not really gonna have that interest in.
Yeah, I hear you.
In everything going on, and then apart from that, it's like you're really stretching for like really like news to break out in like for like our club, like for any club really. Once the transfer window shuts down, so it's so we kind of really just calm it down. Really, if there's something major that happens, obviously we'll talk about it. But aside from that,
with that being said, we got plenty going on through the international break, so I'll be sure to hit you guys up and invite you guys on. But AA, thanks for coming on to the Red Sea podcast today as well. So we're going to let you go also.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having me on, man. Blessed to meet you, and
of course. Now we'll get
like some great things. And
SL was obviously saying that we'll get you guys back on, and we've got a bit of a relationship going as well. So I'd love to invite you guys back on. It's always good having you guys contribute to the channel as well, and we totally appreciate it. But have a good evening, my man, and we'll catch up with you soon as well. Thank you for getting involved.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having me on, man. Congrats on getting that 300, man.
Peace, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Cool. Take care, bro.
Take care. So, Reds, there we have it. The transfer window is drawn to a close. Unfortunately, Liverpool have failed to sign anybody other than Ibrahim and Konate this deadline window. I've been Tiago's father, 89 from the Red Sea podcast. We have got some fantastic stuff coming up throughout the course of the international break, so make sure you keep it Red Sea podcast. You will see our tier list return. Myself and my co-host Southern Scouser and friends will be doing a tier list based on the most dominant Liverpool teams ever. We pick out of the sort of 2000s, 90s, even up to present day, right back to the 70s of players that we believe were the best. And we've got a couple of categories you put those players into. And if you haven't seen any of our tier list show, please check the playlist. You'll be able to see those on there for you as well. The Fab Four will return on Friday as well, where we get all of our co-host and sub-host from the Red Sea podcast together to discuss the week of Liverpool football. We'll be probably discussing the window today as well, and the overall window for Liverpool Football Club as a whole, and where we go as a club from here. You'll see one of our sub-hosts, Courtney, return, Statman Stubbs, myself, Tiago's father, and Southern Scouser, who is my co-host also. But without further ado, thank you for joining us on this Deadline Day special. It's been absolutely fantastic to get your views and your points of what's gone on with Liverpool over this present window. We've seen contract renewals for Jordan Henderson, Reece Williams, Nat Phillips, and various others throughout the course of the summer as well. But is it enough to see us as Liverpool Football Club be in contention for major honours at the end of the season? We will never know until we get there. But guys, as I said, I've been Tiago's father, 89. You can catch me on the Twitter handle just at the bottom of the screen there as well. So if you want to check out all the random stuff that I'll be tweeting, all the upset and unrest that I'll be putting up on my Twitter, please do head over and give us a follow. And like I said, if you aren't already, like and subscribe. We made it to 300 subscribers today on the YouTube. The work now starts to get us to 400, and the work doesn't stop. But thank you for joining us on the Red Sea podcast this evening. Keep it Red Sea podcast. Keep it locked for everything we've got going on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Take care.